consumerist society. It's not the worst thing in the world.
No.
But if you ever played Demon Souls for PS3,
Okay.
there's a guy who recognizes that he's living like a scum existence in hell. You know, basically hell, literally.
The main character?
I mean, everybody is. But no, there's a shopkeeper in the sort of hub area.
Okay.
And he's like, you know, you bring me souls, and I can, you know, eke out a living, keep from going hollow, and I'll make your life a little better. And I think that's kind of what you got to do. It's just recognize that you're living in a very fucked up situation, and like just try to stop yourself from going hollow. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like you can't get too much spiritual fulfillment from the act of consuming itself, because like ultimately all the people that are like, you know, guiding the fucking machines of industry that keep a consumerist society going, they don't have moral authority. And at the end of all of their messages is just consume, because that's what they have to say in order to assure that they will continue to survive, right?
Yeah.
And everything else is kind of up to you, which is scary and confusing. But it's like, it's kind of better than living in a, you know, a more morally totalizing society where like the authorities have like much finer control over what you think and say and do, you know? Like the place that we're in right now is this kind of like liminal zone where a lot of fucking like, it's easy to just say like corporations, but it's like corporations and corporate entities, like entities of consumerism, and does the entities of industrialized technological society.
Well, I mean, even churches are LLCs now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everything's a business now, whether you like it or not.
The world is a college of corporations. The world is a business, Mr. Beale. You ever see Network?
No, I haven't seen it.
Network. Patty Chayefsky. Great fucking movie. It's on Netflix right now. Yeah. So, you know, fucking... They're trying to get moral authority. Like, they're trying to establish themselves as, like, the moral arbiters of the 21st century. And we can't let them do that. Because ultimately, they make jump video game.
I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know. It's bizarre, you know. It is sort of like the cyberpunk future is here.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as sexy as it is, but it's. What's the guy? The cyberpunk guy?
William Gibson.
No. 2020.
Oh, Mike Pondsmith.
Mike Pondsmith. He's a fucking genius. I mean, like everything he said. You know, the rules he laid out for Cyberpunk 2020 were absolutely correct. Everything's just way less sexy. Look, dude, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere, Delaware. We just drove past a LED animated billboard.
Yeah.
Like, we're here. We're in Cyberpunk 2020. Everything just kind of sucks because it was built out of, like, you know, like New York's been around for fucking, you know, how long, and it's not the sexy, you know, we don't have jackets with LEDs quite yet.
There are LED jackets, they're just not fashionable. It's like, people think that like Cyberpunk is like cybernetic arms and everybody looks like a Patrick Nagel drawing, but like, no, it's just kind of, you know, it's downbeat. Everybody just kind of dresses fucking normal. But we're all cyborgs. We have like prostheses, like technological prostheses that are very important to us. Like we live our lives increasingly through computers.
Yeah, well, and I mean it's almost necessary to exist in modernity.
Yeah.
You need to have a smartphone. I mean, if you're like a boomer and you want to like own millennials by saying I still have a flip phone, like, okay, we're really impressed. We're laughing at you behind your back because you're basically like, oh, you're using a gun to hunt? Oh man, I'm using a bow because I'm a real man, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're making your life more difficult for no fucking reason but to just show off.
Here's the thing, like, for about 3 years, like, I didn't have a cell phone at all. Like, fucking flip phone. Like, I just didn't have a phone. 3-4 years. And, like, I'm still kind of getting used to it. I don't like that I'm carrying around a tracking device.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
You have to not think about it.
And I hate when I talk to people and they say, like, they can track me all they want. Haha, I just love my product so much. Because it is, like, that's a pretty fucking serious thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, I hate to admit it, the reason it pisses me off so much is that they do have a point. One of the things, like, you know, there's a lot of different societies cohabitating in this particular world right now. And, like, when you don't have a phone, like, I don't have a phone, I don't have any documents, like, I don't officially exist at the moment. And you can live. You work different kinds of jobs. You make your money different ways. But you can exist, and there are a lot of people that do. In order to exist in the bubble of, like, polite society, you pretty much gotta have a fucking tracking device. You know? And you can fall out of it if you want to. You don't even miss it. You don't feel, like, deprived. Because you're not deprived. Like, people existed for thousands and thousands of years without a global, like a little supercomputer in their pocket that can talk instantly to everybody all around the globe. You know? That's a very new thing. You don't have to live that way. But,
makes things a little easier.
Well, it makes it easier to interface with the systems of industrial civilization as they exist at present. It's actually a prerequisite to interface with those things in a quote-unquote official way.
Well, I mean, it's getting to the point where, okay, to go to BlizzCon this year, you needed to have a smartphone because you had to use their app.
Like, that's how you got into everything.
Yeah. And because you didn't have, there were no physical tickets at first. I think there was a bunch of, you know, whole uproar. But, like, yeah, they're going to be rolling that out. Like, in 5 years, there will be no physical tickets.
No, it's already, like, it's so hard to have a job, even a shitty job, without a cell phone.
Yeah.
Like, your manager can't get at you. You know, like, you're not accessible. If you're not accessible, you're dead. You know, you're trying to freelance no matter what you're doing.
We're living in a hyper-connected sort of state of being, you know?
It makes me think, like, Bill Watterson, you know, he did a Calvin and Hobbes comic in the early 90s where he was like, these computers are supposed to make our lives easier, but it just makes people demand, like, more work quicker. Like, it makes me more stressed out. I mean, it's almost impossible to relax.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, pretty much the only way you can relax is to, like, disconnect in various ways, get some space, get some distance. And you gotta engage with it consciously is the thing. You gotta be conscious of what you're doing every time you pick up a fucking computer. Because a computer is a powerful piece of technology. It's like a gun.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a reason you don't fuck around with guns. Because you'll fucking shoot yourself or shoot somebody else. There's a reason you don't fuck around with computers or use them in a fucking, in an unthinking way. Because it's like, you know, a computer is a fucking piece of technology that could destabilize fucking governments. You know, and at the fullest expression of its power.
Well, I mean, the U.S. Army has a memetics division. Like,
well, they have a digital warfare division. I call it the memetics division, like as a joke.
Yeah. But you know.
No, they do, and that's actually
better now that you've explained the joke. But yeah.
Sorry.
But no, I mean, like, that's what it is. It's like basically any 14-year-old with an iPhone has more of an outlet for propaganda outreach than governments had 100 years ago. Like,
I mean, potentially, yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, we saw it in the 2016 election, you know, like, it started out as just, like, small groups of shit posters, and then it turned into, like, a full-fledged religion at one point.
Yeah,
like, if you're in this circle, you know, like the internet shit-posting circle, there's a good chance you knew people who were part of an esoteric order of individuals ironically worshipping an ancient Egyptian deity, and you know, they were using technology as a communication device, ironically.
Yeah. Well, like, we can take the quotes off. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're being ironic or not. Let's talk about their actual behaviors, because what we're talking about is the cult of Kek. And so Kek is, like, according to Wikipedia, I'm sure that Egyptologists would have a different interpretation here, but, like, somebody found this on Wikipedia, the image of an ancient Egyptian deity of chaos and darkness associated with the image of a frog. So,
well, and then there was the hieroglyphs of
that looked like a person,
man holding a tablet, like a double helix, and then a frog.
Yeah, and it looked like a man using a computer.
Yeah.
The hieroglyph. Yeah, so anyway, there were, like, let's talk about what the Bible is, like what religions are, for just a second, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Bible is a very complicated piece of text that was accumulated over the course of hundreds of years. Like, if you get into text critical scholarship of the Bible, where you're not like, this thing was 100%, it was divinely inspired, it was all written in one go by Moses, which, like, no serious scholar actually believes. Like, you can say that it's divinely inspired, but it was written by men, and, you know, potentially women. Some people are saying that, but it was written by people, and we don't know exactly who they were or where they were writing from, but we can speculate about it. You know, we can go into this part of Genesis and say, okay, the Yahwist, the person who refers to God as Yahweh, those sections of Genesis have like a certain thematic unity. They were probably produced as a body of folk tales that were recorded and then combined with priestly documents, combined with like legal documents like from the Deuteronomist and those sorts of things. Like, basically you had a bunch of different communities over the course of hundreds of years telling stories and writing those stories down for different reasons. And then you have other communities hundreds of years later taking that raw material and combining it in, like, redacting it, editing it, and turning it into transmittable information, right? This takes hundreds of years to accumulate the stories, to accumulate the redactional expertise necessary to bind them together into a text. That's how you produce a Bible. That's what a Bible and the Bible, that's what they are.
Yeah.
Are these accumulations of, like, variously useful texts that are deployed for a number of different reasons over the course of centuries. And on 4chan, when some guy, I remember this was like around January, February of 2016. Like, it was the election year.
Yeah, it was in the ramp up when everything was going fucking haywire.
Yeah.
In the ramp up to the election.
And yeah, that's a cool car. It's a Ford
El Camino.
El Camino.
Yeah.
I always wanted an El Camino.
They're badass. All right,
yeah,
but
they're fucking cool. No, but this was in the run up to the election, and somebody posted on 4chan. So Kek is like it's basically another way to say lol. And I don't know if that comes out of KKKKK, which is what Koreans would say on StarCraft.
I think it came from World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Where if a Horde player typed LOL near an Alliance player, it would scramble the text and come across as KEK. That's, I think.
That's, yeah, okay, so there were these correspondences between information about this ancient Egyptian deity and extant memes on 4chan, right? And so people started saying that Kek was reappearing, Kek was manifesting his will in the election, and that Kek wanted Donald Trump to win. And people would say that Kek was smiling on their posts when they'd get
777s.
Yeah, they get 777s or they get doubles. Like, on 4chan, every post is identified with a numerical code instead of an avatar or a username. And so if every numerical code, every post has its own numerical code. And if those numerical codes include repeating digits, it's like doubles or trips. It's like a lucky get. You know, it's a way to distinguish certain posts as being, like, you know, it's basically a way to, like, make posts, like, quotable and transmittable that doesn't actually, it's like content neutral.
Yeah.
Which is that's one of the things that's most interesting about 4chan because of the anonymity. It's like all these weird cultural devices for spreading information will come to the fore.
Yeah.
And so with Kek, like, people made that initial post, like I said, January, February 2016. By the time the election came around, there was already a Bible of Kek with compiled Kek posts from across 4chan and 8chan. I was reading 8chan at the time.
Not me. A good boy.
Yeah, he's a good boy. I'm a fucking very bad influence reading the 8chan. But you know, they literally created a published document. It was on Amazon Create Space Publishing. I mean, it's only like 32 pages, but they did what was done over the course of hundreds of years when the actual, like, the Hebrew Bible, the actual Bible was composed. They did that over the course of months. They created this body of religious literature. They created ritual practices that have to do with, like, posts being smiled on by Kek.
Yeah. Well, and it should also be stated that up until, like, modernity, 32 pages is not a small document.
No.
You know, I mean, if you're looking at texts before, you know, a couple hundred years ago, like, 32 pages is sizable.
Well, I mean, there's always been, like, very sizable work. books.
Long books, but like, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Like,
It doesn't, like,
the size of it doesn't matter.
I'm gonna push back a little bit. Like I'm not interested in, like, it's not the fact that it's long. In fact, I'm not surprised that it's short.
Yeah.
You know, because the thing that's impressive about it is that they actually built a functioning religious infrastructure with, like, cosmographic information about, like, here's what's really going on in the election. There's these dark spiritual forces. It's Moloch and Kek are engaged in a wrestling match. And you know, the Moloch thing is still around. I mean, Allen Ginsberg was talking about Moloch.
Wasn't there a bunch
obviously this is a biblical thing, the Canaanite god that would accept child sacrifices. For example, the heathen king of Manasseh. That's in the book of Kings. That's in 2 Kings, I believe. Like, they're taking all this. So we've got, like, two parts to the Kek thing. We've got the extant stuff before 2016, the stuff about the ancient Egyptian deity that's been, like, modified, regurgitated, redacted, summarized on Wikipedia, which is how it's transmitting out to these people. You've got Moloch as he has existed as a Canaanite deity, both, like, historically and how he exists as a figure in the biblical text. And then you collide it with 4chan, where, like, the reason that the Bible took so many hundreds of years to put together is it's hard to produce text. You know, it's hard to fucking collect a bunch of text together. It's hard to redact text. It's hard to reproduce text. For most of human civilization, like, text has been reproduced by literally just writing it out again and again and again. Yeah. And then you hit printing and things start to accelerate. And then you hit the digital world and things accelerate so much that now you've got people that are talking to each other from all over the world. Their texts are instantly transmittable to one another, instantly redactable. They can fucking make a Bible in a month. They can use it for a year. And then once Donald Trump gets elected and the objective of the fucking troll is achieved, it just kind of fades into nothingness. Yeah. Like, that's the world that we're living in now, is like a religion can rise and fall and serve its function over the course of a fucking year. Yeah. That's insane.
It is. Well, it's funny because, I mean, I was saying, you know, ironically, but, like, I mean, these people were going onto the internet, using a numerical Ouija to, you know, purportedly communicate with a deity, and then changing their real life behaviors based on the results. Yeah. Like, at that point, it's like, you know, it gets to the point of, like, well, I really only go to church for the social aspects of it. Mm-hmm. But, like, you'd still widely be considered a Christian. Yeah. You know?
They used to call them horseshed Christians in New England.
You know, so, like, I guess we've got some horseshed keckers.
Horseshed keckers, yeah.
Horseshed keckers.
But this is the other thing I was saying about, like, you know, in a consumerist society, or let's just, you know, in a world with such a vast proliferation of media. Yeah. And the information that comes with media. In a world with such a vast proliferation of ideas, the power of each individual idea to, like, command your life is lessened, because necessarily you are creating a personal point of view, which is a collage of a bunch of different fucking texts and images and ideas that you've been exposed to about what the world is and who you are and what the past is and what the future is going to be. And everybody creates a little collage for themselves, right? And this is one of the dangers of consumerism, is that, like, ideas just become another thing to buy. Yeah. Just another thing to consume. But, like, ideas are cheap. Text files require very little money to transmit.
Well, I mean, you can have the entirety of a Bible be, like, a text file that can be sent in under a second anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world,
you know, any document. Like, a non-rich text file is, like, no fucking space, you know? It's, like, freely distributable.
Yeah. Easy. And, like, sometimes it can be a little, like, I'll hear people say, like, well, if you don't have access to that technological infrastructure, then you're not part of that interconnected world. So, like, really, this is heavily bifurcated between the global rich and the global poor, which is true to an extent. Because, like, William Gibson, I don't know if I'm going to get the quote correct, but he was like, the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed. Yeah. That might be Neil Stephenson. I think it was William Gibson, though. The thing is, though, that, like, the future is more, this interconnection is more evenly distributed than it's ever been. Like, literacy levels globally are much higher than they've been for the majority of human history. And they're not perfect. We're not at 100% literacy. People don't have 100% access to this thing, but it's trickling down. Because when the fucking the first world is done with its technology, the technology like washes up further down the road. Like when I lived in New York, you'd just be fishing fucking devices out of the trash. I got a Kindle with a subscription to the New York Times already on it out of a fucking garbage bin once.
Nice.
Ramsey's second Kindle. Thanks, Ramsey's. I read the New York Times for like I got my newspaper for like a year for free, thanks to you throwing away your fucking Kindle, dude.
My main man.
My main man, Ramsey's, right there for you, dude. I mean, look, I'm not saying that it's perfect. I'm just saying that we live in a very fucking interesting time where a lot of the processes that have driven human civilization are both exerting like less direct and absolute control than they ever have, and where there is like the processes of human culture are accelerating to a fucking crazy degree. And I can't even predict what the future is going to look like, but it's like,
No idea.
I am very interested to get there. Which is why, like, even as much as you talk about how things are, you know, things are really fucked up, like, we don't want to live in a corporate theocracy. Nobody does, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a friend who said, like, you know, there's a good chance that within our lifetimes we either reach Mad Max or Star Trek, you know? Like, there is a possibility that, you know, things come to a conclusion. I'm not sure I believe it, but
I do think that there's like portions of the infrastructure as it exists now are gonna, like, by necessity have to. I think they're either gonna have to change or collapse in on themselves to prompt the change. But we have more engineering know-how than the human species has ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I really believe, like, not in a cheesy Bill Gates way, I think that fucking technology is changing the nature of the human species, and perhaps not in an entirely negative way.
no. Well, I mean, this whole road trip, you know,
Yeah.
we landed up on the internet, you know?
Yeah, we fucking met each other on the internet.
It's,
And people have been doing this forever, by the way. It's like, I see people all the time. Like, I've been hanging out with fucking internet trolls, working with internet troll people and comedians and, like, internet content creators, you know, however you want to talk about it. And, like, their lives have been transformed by the information network. And, like, I've seen people do some real wild shit because of that fucking information network. Good and bad. You know, like, it's very powerful. And this is why I say it's like using a computer is like fucking wielding a gun.
yeah, well, I mean, you can do what we're doing now and use it to, like, measurably improve your life.
Yeah.
Or you can succumb to cyber psychosis and lose your fucking mind.
That's the thing.
And I think that's from Cyberpunk 2020, right?
Yeah, the cyber psychos, yeah.
Like, that's fucking real. Like,
Yeah.
if you spend too much time online and you don't fucking check yourself, you can go fucking cyber psycho and, like, just alienate everyone you know and live in your own fucking world where it's just, you know, 100% black pill every day.
Yeah.
You know, and the sun never shines and nothing ever goes right. And it's easy to set up a, you know, sort of your own little ecosystem where you're always proven right because you're always saying things are going to be fucked. Because things are fucked, you know?
Yeah, things are really bad. Like, there's a lot of really bad shit going on.
I mean, the news today, you know, what, we pulled out of Syria. That's good.
Well, we have drawn down our engagement in Syria. I do think there's still American forces there to a degree, but
they're
basically,
always going to be, you know?
basically we're stepping out of the line. We've stepped out of the way, which is opening the Turkish invasion of northern Syria.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, you could focus on the fact that American troops in mass are coming home from Syria, which I thought they weren't supposed to be there in the first place, but I don't fucking know anything. Or you could focus on the fact that Turkey's fucking with them. You know, like, there's two sides to every coin.
I mean, the thing is that it's not like a mass drawdown. It's basically like, okay, the reason we're reacting to this is that Elizabeth Warren put up a thing on Twitter where she said we need to stand with the people, the Kurds that are about to be. I mean, and this is terrible. Like, you know, a bunch of Kurds are going to die in this Turkish invasion. This is a fucking bad deal.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. I don't know.
No. But what she's saying is we need to bring our troops home, but we need to do it in a way that provides for our security. And, like, so basically what she's saying is we should be more involved.
Yeah.
It's America's responsibility to go limit what's going on. And, like, I don't know. I mean, I know that it's like a cold thing to say, like, But I don't know when U.S. involvement has ever helped a situation.
It's only ever inflamed the situation.
And like, why do we need to be the imperial masters of the earth?
Yeah.
Why is that necessary?
And the only people that have ever been like really, really helped by U.S. involvement have been the Fortune 500.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
no, and it's like there is no. This is what I'm saying about like okay, World War II, even Vietnam to an extent, definitely the war in Iraq. Before the internet was as mature as it is now as an information system, like, it was very easy to manufacture mass consensus for American involvement overseas as a moral necessity, because the government had more moral authority. Like, if there's only a few information sources, like, think about it, like, if you're getting all your information from newspapers and radio,
yeah,
and both of those things are incentivized to give the line of whatever, you know, the people that are in power in the government, you can sell a war very easily.
Yeah.
If people are getting their information from a bunch of different sources, including just like assholes in a car, you know, like, it's the moral authority, the moral authority of the fucking war, the perpetual war state is gone. I think it's been fucking completely scrubbed by Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Like, if you fight a war for 18 years for no reason, like, if you fight a war for 18 years that does not have like a plan of success, it's not to accomplish some kind of discrete goal. It's just a war that goes on for 18 years. It's like the mask is off.
Well, it's just a cog that turns the economy.
Yeah.
Know? Like, that's all it is. And people recognize it. And then, like, you'll even get people like neocons. Like, you talk to like neocons. And it's like, you forget that, like, people exist outside of like political cartoons that are like, no, it's a good thing that we're turning the Middle East into just a cog to build bombs to turn the U.S. economy. And it's kind of sickening.
Yeah, I mean, and
because I don't want to get too political, but you go left or right, like, people don't like war. People don't want to be at war, but we've been at war for 18 fucking years.
Well, it's because we are the global empire. We're the global hegemony right now. And when I say we, it's like they like to sell it to you like this is America, and it's somehow related to like the ideals of America, that like we're advancing democracy around the world or something like that. But no, we're creating markets for ourselves. We're creating markets for our weapons, and then in the aftermath, we're creating markets for our various other products, our managers, our consultants, our systematizers, and ultimately our fucking corporations and our fucking like our franchises and our brands and our oil and our sugar water. Like, that's the imperative of industrial capitalism. And I'm not saying like we need to just fucking smash it all to bits and start over with a command economy controlled by like people with fucking with overeducated nitwits like me. I don't think that. I just think that this, like, you know, when you're talking about the perpetual war thing, like, it's really fucked up. And I'm scared when I see somebody like Elizabeth Warren, who's like in the best position right now to get the Democratic nomination. I'm scared when I see her say, we need to engage with the world in a way that provides for our security. Because we all know what the fucking weasel words are now.
Yeah.
We all know that provide for our security means a bunch of fucking dead people at the end of the day.
I mean, I think the people watching this are probably young enough to recognize, like, the state doesn't give a shit about your security.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't. You know, it never has.
I mean, look, the situation as it exists now is we live in anarchy, controlled to varying degrees by competing criminal syndicates that all operate with official sanctions. So, like, mostly they're not called criminal, but they are. And so, but like, look, people have lived in a million different ways over the years, and I'll tell you one thing about criminals. Like, if you fuck over a criminal, they respect you.
You think so?
I think because, like at some level, and maybe they'll kill you.
Yeah, I would say they might just kill you.
Well, they might kill you, but like criminals, if you're engaged in the activity of just like, I'm going to do something that works, I don't care if it's legal, I don't care if it's good. If you find a way to pull one over on those people, or like slip through a crack or avoid them, like, they're not that interested in you, you know, they're not that interested in controlling what you like think or what you feel. They just want their fucking money.
Yeah.
They just want their fucking money, which makes them like, and if you figure out a way to get some fucking money or to like rip them off, then you've shown that you got a little bit of balls. It's like we're living in Goodfellas. Like we're basically living in a Goodfellas society.
I can take that.
And so what I'm saying is like, look, things are bad. It's easy to get angry, especially because Twitter is literally a fucking psyop machine designed to make you angry. Like, it's designed to push shit into your face that will make you angry, that will make you engage with the other people. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it is. Like, you know, most forms of mass media are like a machine that turns your anguish, like your mental torture, into profit for people that you probably don't particularly care for.
See, that's the thing, is like, television is not a machine that turns your mental, your anguish. Like, television is a tranquilizer. Like, there's different forms of it. There's different forms of
it. Like news media.
Oh yeah. News media is definitely because about like getting your anger out.
They've been doing this shit for long enough that they understand their profit is like the best way they can keep you interested is to piss you off or terrify you.
Yeah.
And being pissed off and terrified all the time is not a good way to live.
Well, this is what we were talking about with like you gotta not let these people have moral authority over you.
Oh yeah.
Like the Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. Yeah, fuck you, Jeff Bezos. Send me my fucking socks. That's your job. You're sock man.
Dude, I'm only wearing Uniqlo socks.
You're only wearing Uniqlo socks now.
Fuck Bezos.
Dude, but here, this is what I'm saying though, is like, you can't let him have moral authority. Like, he doesn't have moral authority. He's a fucking, that company is a shitbird company. And like, the Washington Post's job is to just like, tell me what's going on. Specifically, it's supposed to tell people what's going on in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And like, you know, I don't think that it's possible to be an objective journalist. I'm not asking for like objectivity. Like, my concern isn't bias. My concern is fucking know your role and don't demand too much of people. If your job is to provide people with information, you are not in the business of selling morality. If your job is to provide people with socks, you are not selling morality. If your job is to provide people with fun, diverting films that they can watch with the whole family, you're not selling morality either. You're selling fucking plastic and branded bags of carrot sticks. And like, those things aren't horrible in and of themselves, you know.
I like carrot sticks.
I like carrot sticks, but I'm not gonna let the guy who manufactures my carrot sticks determine my fucking, you know, my views on politics and my view of myself and like my desire for the future. Like, that's just not that fucking, they're not that powerful. We can't let them be that powerful.